My name is Alex Nikiforov and I play guitar. And you do too, probably, if you're watching this video. So most of my career, I've had the distinct pleasure and opportunity to be the only guitar player in a band. Usually it's a band of one guitar player and a piano player, keyboard player, and many times it's been just me, bass and drums, a power trio, if you will. So whereas most other musicians in the group just learn their part, whether it's the singer or the drummer or the bass player, I'm in a distinct position of having to try to usually distill down multiple parts. So the singer might learn the melody and the lyrics, great. The drummer learns his groove, great. Bass player learns his part, great. And almost always there's going to be multiple guitar tracks on a recording, even in bands where there's only one guitar player. So I have to look at these parts and say, okay, what can I play? When should I play it? How is that going to best serve the song without making it sound like there are pieces missing? So I'm trying to create this auditory illusion of multiple guitar parts, right? So this example that it shows here today is a great example of that. AC/DC came from a generation where typically there was a rhythm guitar player and a lead guitar player. I don't like those terms at all. I think that's very antiquated. But this band famously had a very, very strict division of labor, wherein Angus Young was the lead guitar player, Malcolm Young was the rhythm guitar player, and ne'er the twain shall meet. So that's why it's a good example to say, okay, well, I know what Malcolm's playing. I know what Angus is playing. How can I try to play both those parts together? So if you just listen to the recording that I did, it's a track I just found on YouTube by a guy named Joey Six String. So thank you, Joey Six String, for providing this wonderful backing track of bass, drums, and vocals, no guitars. So any guitars that you heard on that recording are played by me in real time, no overdubs, no loops, no samples, no nothing like that. So what am I doing here? Okay, well, I'm trying to do a couple of things, right? I'm trying to, like I said, play the most important parts at the most important times to serve the song. Sometimes that's a very specific lick, and I can try to get away with playing chords when possible. Sometimes that's playing chords, and I can try to play a lick here and there, also when possible, right? So, Hell's Bells, perfect example, right? Here's the intro lick. It's the only thing happening other than bells and drums, right? Right, that's the lick. And I specifically did not research to learn if I'm playing it 100% accurately, because I'm not going to play either one of these parts 100% accurately because I'm trying to combine them, right? So that's the lick, right? That happens a couple times. Pretty soon Malcolm comes in with, which I play horribly, and he's doing that, right? So I got to go from this little part in there when I can, right? That's pretty convenient right now because those parts are pretty much separate, right? There's not a lot of overlap. So you see very clearly where it switches from lick predominance, lick, precedence to chord precedence, right? Very, very clear break of where I got to focus on this, and then I go to this. So that's one thing I think about. All right, another thing I think about when I'm playing in a one guitar band, or when I'm the only chordal instrument, just doing that kind of thing. I think about long versus short. So we know on this song, Hell's Bells, that's got a couple verses, right? If I played the exact same thing on both verses, it's going to sound real stagnant. It's going to sound like there's no growth, there's no development, there's no progression, there's no journey, if you will, right? So when I come in on the verse 1 with my little rhythm figure, I'm going to intentionally play it pretty short, pretty tight as I can. So that I've got somewhere to build up on the consecutive verses, 2, 3, 4 verses, whatever the song has, right? So here's roughly where verse 1 comes in. So between the verse and the pre-chorus, I'm going pretty short to pretty long to help it open up and match what the drummer's doing, how he's opening up his hi-hat, how the bass player is maybe playing longer notes, right? So I want to have a symmetrical growth to everybody else, right? If I kept it short on the pre-chorus, it'd sound weird. If I played long in the verse, it would sound weird, right? So I really try to accentuate that long versus short contrast when I'm going through a song that has repeated sections. So on the chorus, hells bells, I'm back to that intro lick again, right? When I go back to that intro lick again, I'm trying to add a little bit more of the rhythm guitar roll by having that concept, right? So instead of just going, now I'm trying to kind of keep bouncing that A underneath, right? Trying to synthesize both of those parts, right? I can't just go and if I just played the lick, it sounds empty now because we've grown past that intro lick phase. Now it's part of the chorus. Another easy thing to do to make it sound like there's growth even with only one player is just simply changing octaves or changing inversions or voicings, however you want to look at it, right? So, for instance, when we come into the solo section and we go, just sits there, does a little fill, whatever, break, 2, 3. Does that a couple times, right? But in a one guitar band, if I play the same thing over and over and over again, you're like, it makes you think that there should be something happening, right? Because you're just playing the one part. So the first time I might play it real basic. The second time I went, same chords, A, G, A, C, D, right? But now I'm playing different inversions, so it's going up, it's going up, it's going up, right? So first time. Now we kind of get into more of that solo, chordal solo, right? I'm still playing the same harmonies. Just with more rhythmic variety, right? So the first time, real basic. Second time, same rhythm. Same chords, different rhythms. Now we start getting into more of the solo thing where I'm like, right? So as I go up in the solo thing where I'm still doing like chord partials, dyads, and triads, going up in that kind of thing, right? Now here's the thing, I really got to be careful of how much mass I'm going to lose. If I went building up a line, if I start soloing way up here now, the bottom drops out completely, right? I've lost all that wonderful mass of... So I brought it back down to a real low voicing to try to bring everything back together after it's almost run off the rails, right? Right, and I go down to that low, big fat. So I'm thinking about how I can get away with building up a solo in range while keeping the mass of the mids intact, right? Thankfully, the guitar gods have blessed us with all these wonderful open strings for all this classic rock stuff. Okay, one of the last elements that I usually think about when I'm playing in a solo guitar band, not playing guitar solos, or playing solo guitar, a solo guitar band, one guitar band, is I'm thinking about big voices versus small voices. So you don't necessarily need to be playing massive voicings. 2 notes, 3 notes, that's all I'm playing. But when you do start adding more notes to that chord, it's going to just sound bigger and bigger and fuller, right? So I want to save that ace in the hole for when it makes the most sense, right? I want to save it for like the biggest chorus, the biggest high point, the biggest apex of the song, whatever you want to call it, right? I would argue that on this song, it would be the last chorus out, right? So what am I doing here? I'm playing the first time straight ahead. The second time, I'm basically inverting this part and playing it on top. That's all I did. I just kind of took the figure, the lick, the riff, and put it on top instead of on the bottom. So now I've got a descending line from the top down. Now maybe the third time I'll echo the first time. Just to kind of like have repetition, right? In a one guitar band, I've got to change it up somehow, you know, musically intelligent decisions every time, so that, almost every time, so that it sounds like something's happening, right? All right, well, hopefully that gave you some ideas of how you can get the musical point across in a one guitar band. It does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of listening. It takes a lot of trial and error. But I think if you keep those, 3 or 4 concepts in mind, that'll really help you get the job done. Concept number 1, if you want to break it down, licks versus chords, or chords versus licks. There's almost always going to be one or the other that takes precedence. You have to figure out which one of those is more important and when, and then try to focus on that while getting in the other component if and when you can. The other concept, number 2, if you want to call it this, is long versus short contrast, short versus long. Try to change the note duration and the duration of held pitches or short pitches symmetrically with the drums and the bass. And if they're doing their job, hopefully, it'll be very obvious where in the song that should be long or short and how you're going to match up with them to make a cohesive musical concept. Number 3, big and small chord voices. We've got 6 notes, right? So even a difference of 1 note, 1 string can be huge, can be relatively major, right? So if you've got 2 or 3 note power chords chugging along, if you end up playing a 4 or a 5 note chord, that's a lot more mass, that's a lot more material, it's a lot more sonic information. So use those tools wisely. And that's it. Hopefully I'll do another couple little versions of this with different songs to help further illustrate these concepts. Thanks for watching.